to the Matriarchs, where wisdom meets real talk for teen girls and young women, and now for moms. So today we're tackling a tough but important topic, addiction. It's something that doesn't just affect the person using, but it ripples through families, through friendships, and through futures.
But it definitely needs to be talked about. Addiction can start small, sometimes with curiosity, peer pressure, or even just trying to numb the pain, but the effects last a lifetime. In this episode, we want to break down what addiction really is, how it impacts your future, and then most importantly, how you can avoid falling into its trap.
That's right. And, a lot of people think that addiction is just like drug use or alcohol use, but addiction can be a lot of things. It can be gaming, it can be social media, it can be overeating, cigarettes, vaping. There's so many different types of addiction, but today we are going to focus on some of the more life-changing addictions, which do include the alcohol and drug use, right? And, our brain has a reward system, and that reward system makes us crave more of what gives us short-term relief. But it does come at a cost of our long-term health, relationships, and dreams. And we will really point that out later with our guest that will be on to share her story of addiction.
Teens and young adults really have to be extra careful with this because they are especially vulnerable. Their brain isn't completely developed until around 25. So that means decision-making and impulse control and all that, those parts of your brain are still developing and in progress. And so drugs, alcohol, nicotine, which is what's in cigarettes or vapes, they trick your brain into releasing like a feel-good chemical. And over time, your brain starts to depend on that and it wants it and craves it.
Yeah. And, that is why teens and young women are such at high risk for addiction. I think it's easy for us when we're younger to think that we're kind of invincible and that we can try and we can experiment and it's not going to impact us the way that it does so many others. But, there are so many components of addiction that it's just important to understand. Sometimes it's, genetically we're predisposed to addiction, and that makes some of us at a higher risk of addiction. And as Meg said, your brain is still developing until mid to late 20s in some cases. And so that means that you are more vulnerable. And, vaping can feel safe because it's kind of marketed as trendy, but it can be just as addictive as cigarettes and quite honestly harder to quit because it's easy to hide.
And like Trish said, if you have a parent or a grandparent that battles with addiction, such as alcohol abuse or smoking even, then you are more likely to develop that addiction as well. So alcohol might feel safe and fun at parties, but it lowers your ability to make good decisions, can just have an effect on you, on all of your life. If something bad happens after a party and you get in a wreck or something that later on affects your reputation, things like that. When you're going to find a job, that can be on your record and stuff like that.
Yeah. It can even have like longer life impacts that affect you forever. And we're going to get into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So drugs can promise an escape, but there's usually a cost to that. And we will hear that with our guest that's getting to be on here.
So Meg and I could, we could host a week's worth of episodes to discuss, all the things addiction, the lifelong effects for both those battling addiction, those and their families. And that's why we urge you to understand the impact of addiction. We could discuss how to avoid falling into addiction and what to look for in friends and family and, who may be struggling with addiction. And we may have those future episodes. But for now, we want you to hear from our older sister, Pam, who has battled addiction for 27 years. And she hasn't only battled addiction, it's changed the entire course of her life. And we just want you to hear a part of her story. We want you to hear directly from someone who has experienced the hurts, the struggles, and the unimaginable pain that accompanies addiction. And it is so important for each of you to listen to Pam and to hear her story. And so here's a little bit of Pam's story in a very brief interview that I held with her specifically for the Matriarchs. So let's start out and just tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about, just a little bit about growing up and activities you were involved in, and give us just a little background.
Dad put up a basketball goal, and me and my sister started shooting basketballs when we were 4 years old, and we shot it granny style. And I remember that it was hanging on the garage door, and that's how I started learning how to play basketball.
Tell us some about the sports you played.
The sports I played basketball, I played fast pitch softball, I played track, I played volleyball, I played professional tackle women's football on the Kansas City Tribes.
But you didn't just play sports, you dominated them.
I dominated sports. I was an athlete from...
I think you were probably the most aggressive athlete I've ever watched play.
I think maybe... I don't like to take that as in fame, but...
You were kind of a big deal.
I love sports. And
you're good at
I love sports. I was pretty darn good at it. And the thing about that, my daughter is just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's my miracle, my miraculous angel that I gave my life and soul to.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, and
now she's following in your footsteps, isn't she?
And she's following in my footsteps. And if it wasn't for her, I don't believe I would be alive today.
Really? Is that what you think would have taken your life?
I think she's my angel. She's my angel and my glory and my honor. And
yeah, she brought more purpose to your life, didn't she?
She brought more purpose to my life. I was on so much drugs. And, for me as an adult now, to the young kids out there listening to me, I really want to know, I just want to tell a lot of people, a lot of kids, just as a role model, just when I was 12 years old, I tried my first hit off marijuana. I started, and that's what I think led into harder drugs.
So you were 12?
I was 12 years old when I
didn't know that.
Hit off my first joint.
No kidding. Who gave it to you?
This girl her name was Chelsea.
And you were only 12?
12 years old. Me and my friend Chelsea.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And so then you think that kind of led you into harder drugs?
It led me into harder drugs. I started jingling with meth when I was about 17, 18. And then it kept going from there. That's when I took off on that train.
Yep. And you went to what, North Carolina?
I went to North Carolina. I took that train all the way around the East Coast and ended up when Heath went to the military. And so I went to North Carolina. I wanted to go to college so bad at UNC and to become an actress. And so then I was an actress for a little while as a extra on Dawson's Creek.
You were?
Yes, I was.
I was not aware of this.
So then that's when I was walking home, and that's when this guy sexually assaulted me. And
sorry, PK.
Dad and Jerry came pick me up and found me in Duplin General, North Carolina Hospital. And he found me he picked me up from there and then came home. And that's when they found out I was schizoaffective bipolar disorder, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, and all this.
A lot of that was brought on by the drugs, though, right? Was drug induced?
Yes.
Because you didn't have that prior to drugs.
It was right after I graduated hospital in 1998.
Sorry that you ever had to go through that, PK.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It was a miracle I was still alive.
Yeah, it is. I remember.
Had brain trauma injury from it, BTI.
You did? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good.
That's when I only weighed like 87 pounds when they found me. Because there was heroin Over in North Carolina, there's a lot of heroin over there. There's a lot of methadone clinics over there.
Yeah.
And that's when she taught me how to shoot up. I shot up for 5 years of heroin.
Oh, you did?
Heroin and meth, yeah.
Wow, PK. I'm learning a lot. I'm
I didn't, you wanted me to say it, so I'm saying
no,
it.
I'm glad.
It's evil shit.
It is. Well, and that's part of why I wanted to interview you for the podcast, was because you've been through it all. And I know that you can, people say use your mess for your message, and
use the mess for a message.
But it's given you an opportunity to share your story and in the hopes of helping other people who are tempted to try drugs or who are maybe on them now, to maybe encourage them to get off of them, because they can be pretty life-changing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because what was your initial ambition when you were young? Do you remember?
My initial ambition was for me to become a brain surgeon.
Yeah. And I 100% believe that you could have done that without a doubt in my mind.
Because when we were little, don't you remember me trying to dissect that brain cow?
Yeah.
That brain in the cow's brain in the pond.
Yeah, I wrote about it in the book.
6 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that vividly. Well, what do you think? Like, when did you realize you were like addicted? What was it?
I think it's a disease.
No, I mean, when did you realize you couldn't, that it became an addiction? Like you couldn't stop doing it? What drug was it that hooked you?
That hooked me the most?
Yeah.
I'd probably say meth and heroin.
Yeah, that's what I remember you telling me.
Yeah.
Well, okay, PK, we got to wrap this up just for time's sake. But first off, thank you for sharing your story with us. You're being bold and courageous and vulnerable.
I just would encourage the kids not ever trying the hardcore drugs.
Yeah, because it can change your life, right? And not in a good way.
Yeah, not in a good way. It's evil.
And God still gives us purpose regardless, but it can get you off track of the life that you always wanted for yourself, isn't it? Doesn't it?
Right.
And God obviously brought you healing through the birth of Allie, but I just think it's important for people to hear from you so that they can hear your story and hopefully keep them from making some of those same mistakes of trying drugs that could potentially hook you for life, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm proud of you for sharing your story. That's not easy. It's hard being vulnerable, and for sharing with people the things in our lives that we all do. Everyone's different. Everyone has different weaknesses, but I'm proud of you for being willing to share your story, because it could help a lot of people. And I hope and pray that it does.
Thank you, Sissy. Thank you, Trisha.
Well, you're welcome, PK. Well, we'll plan on having you on again on future episodes if you want to tell more of your story, but we got to keep our episodes to about 20 or 30 minutes. So I'm proud of you.
My angel also is my daughter.
Yeah, she is. She's an angel.
I'll tell you what, she's one heck of a basketball player and one heck of a softball player, that's for sure.
She is. She inherited that from you, didn't she?
She's beautiful. She inherited from me and you.
Well, she got her beauty from you, that's for sure. All right,
she's
PK.
Gorgeous. All right, Trisha, Leanne, Toots. I love you.
All right, PK. I love you too. Thanks
for sharing. Love you, baby. Love you.
I'll share the episode with you when I get it all done, okay?
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we just want to thank Pam for sharing her story, for her vulnerability, because, Pam's story could change lives, and we really hope that it does. Some people do recover from addiction and some people never do. And I think it's just important for all of you to know that and understand it. But also, if you are battling addiction, we just want you to know that you're not alone in this battle. You may feel alone, but there are so many people battling. There's so many families that are fighting for their loved ones, and there is help. And we just urge you to get the help that you need if you are in the midst of addiction. And if you're tempted
to try different drugs, or if you think there's just a lot of innocence and maybe smoking weed. For some people, there might be, but for some people, that can lead to much harder drug use and maybe even potentially a life that you never wanted and never dreamed up. So there are resources to help you with the struggles in life. And I promise you that alcohol and drugs are not the answer.
So addiction's powerful, but knowledge is more powerful, and your choices today can protect your tomorrow. If you or someone you know is struggling with drug or alcohol abuse, please reach out for help. There's resources, mentors, communities ready to walk with you and help you. And remember, your story doesn't have to be one of brokenness. It can be one of strength, resilience, hope, and you have the power to stop the cycle before it spins out of control. Thank you so much for listening.